Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom. Welcome to this weekend's Championship preview live stream. If you do join in and you do pick up, please get involved, say hi in the chat, and when we get to your team, let me know your prediction and any injury or team news that you might have that I do not. We are up to game week number 27, only 20 games left to go. This is traditionally the point where someone goes on some kind of streak and really puts the hammer down for promotion often. So interesting time now. First league break since the November internationals last week, although some teams didn't take it as a break with the FA Cup games, some people did. Help me, as I said, with the predictions. Let's start from the top, as is normal. And up at the top of the league is Leeds United. It is Leeds versus Sheffield Wednesday. Leeds in first, Sheffield Wednesday in eighth. I was at the reverse fixture at a very, very wet and rainy Hillsborough a few months ago now. I can't quite remember exactly when. That one ended 0-0. Pretty tight game, could have gone either way. That one. Leeds obviously are top. They're still on 2 points per game, 26 games in, 52 points there. Things have slowed down since the 7-game streak. Obviously, it's inevitable you're going to get some kind of slowdown after a streak of that nature. But 6 points in the last 5 games. Mike says 2-0 Leeds. 3 draws and a defeat in there as well. But the gap to third is 9 points and strong. Nketiah has gone back. Clark has gone back. So we're expecting some movement in for Leeds. Steve says Wendy's win or draw. Lots of talk of a striker. Che Adams obviously heavily linked for ages now. Billy Sharp linked as well. So Phil Hay on the podcast, the Phil Hay Show, the Athletic podcast, seems to think it's going to be a goalkeeper, a striker, and possibly a wide player. JRM says, what do I think of Arsenal versus Leeds? Do you know what? It's on BBC. I don't have a TV licence, so I didn't watch it. Irene says 1-0 Leeds. Apparently, their Leeds playing very nicely against Arsenal, and all these Premier League fans going, oh, don't Leeds knock it about lovely, and all us Championship fans going, yeah, we know. Steve says Connor Wickham to Wednesday. A few teams in for Connor Wickham. The word I've heard is he is not for sale. He's still no age, Connor Wickham. Ex-Ipswich guy, burst onto the scene. 16, 17-year-old. I remember seeing him score down there. Who's that against? Burnley? I think possibly many, many years ago. Whatever happened to Burnley and whatever happened to Ipswich. There you go. Hernandez is available, but I can see Bielsa benching him and bringing him in because he's been out for a while. Casilla obviously got rested. Although, I'd be interested to know Leeds fans' thoughts on Meslier, who came in. Apparently, he's very good, the reserve goalkeeper. There's still no for sure, so we roughly know what sort of team we're going to get. It's only really the left back that's a question with Leeds at the moment, isn't it? Sheffield Wednesday, nice FA Cup win at Brighton, but they've suffered the third place curse. Anytime anyone seems to get into teams, Bristol City, Fulham, Preston have all gone third and then fallen down the league. Connor says Tom Elliott signed for Salford. He will destroy League Two. Tom Elliott out of Millwall there. 3 on the trot prior to that FA Cup game, and 2 of them at home. They'd only had 1 defeat in 11 at home prior to that. Nick says Bart is staying at Millwall. They are working on that deal. It looks like they're going to get that sorted, Millwall. Team news for Wednesday is Stephen Fletcher. That's bad news because he'd been the top goal scorer. I think he's got 12, hasn't he? Out for 8 to 10 weeks. Nasty one for Fletcher. So we wish him well, although Leeds fans, I'm sure, will be pleased that they will not be facing him. Prediction-wise, well, Leeds have had a slowdown, but Wednesday have been in poor form. It's hard to not look at a Leeds home win here, but something says because it's Gary Monk that he might get something in because it's a Yorkshire derby. That last game was tight and they did nullify Leeds fairly well. If Pablo's not fit and doesn't start, maybe Wednesday can get a draw. But remember, their main goal threat is gone. Let's go for a draw. Let's sit on the fence with this one when I'm not sure. We're going to go for a draw. Leeds and Wednesday to draw at Elland Road. Down in South London, two familiar foes, Charlton v West Brom. Charlton 19th, West Brom 2nd. Connor says Bart should be signed as our player. The board need to pull their finger out. I think they're on it, Connor. I think that's going to happen, and they're sorting it as we speak. DJM, hello to you. Danny says Leeds to beat Wednesday. Yeah, you don't see Wednesday getting the win, but I don't think it's going to be completely plain sailing. They have set up well against Leeds before. So Charlton West Brom, the elephant in the room there is they played this exact fixture at the weekend in the Cup, didn't they? So it's one of those ones where do you feel each other out? Do you just play a reserve team and not even hint at what you're going to do? Zohore gave the Baggies a 1-0 win there. West Brom are tied with Leeds on 52. So they obviously have 2 points per game also, and a 9-point lead also. Slow down for them too, 7 points, 4 draws in the last 6 games. So it's when you actually start to do this maths, it would take either an incredible collapse or an incredible run, but we will see. DJam says, fantastic news on Charlton's new owners. Hopefully the club can move forward now and back Bowyer. Yes, we will see. Hopefully for Charlton's sake, that brilliant first 6 games, like it kind of did for Wigan, although Wigan were in a lot of trouble quite a long way before the end of the season last season. But it's just kept the wolf from the door for a while now. But with Huddersfield and Stoke mobilising, you can see Huddersfield heading towards that 21st spot, if not that 22nd spot. So, yeah, maybe they do get some backing, but you don't want to rush that. But by the same token, you don't want a relegation straight away, do you? West Brom have got Dean Garner back. He's been out for 5 games, so that is good news. Their good fullbacks are not around though, Ferguson and Gibbs, so probably Furlong and Townsend in there. Charlton had broken their 11-game winless run on Boxing Day, but then they've lost another 2 since then. Excuse me. Disappointing one against Derby as well when Bielik got sent off. You thought there was something there for Charlton, but they're not getting points out of those type games at the moment. Bowyer looked a little bit annoyed about that, to say the least. They're in the bottom 6 now, 5 points off the relegation zone. And as I say, 2 richer teams below them as well, who you would expect to switch with them, which does leave you the sad state of possibly the 3 promoted teams in the bottom 4 there with Wigan. See how that one pans out. We don't want it to be a cartel, but it's proving that way a little bit this season. Excuse me, my eye is streaming again. I hate it when it does that when we're doing a stream. Very embarrassing. Charlton, no Cullen, no Taylor actually, and obviously Lecco and Phil on loan. I think, sorry Leeds fans, because my predictions would put West Brom back top. I think West Brom are going to get the win. I think all of the big guns are going to come back into the side, and they're just going to have too much for a bit of a beleaguered Charlton at the moment. Away win there. Right, Brentford versus QPR, and like the Leeds game, I was at the reverse fixture of this one, also in Shepherd's Bush. Mike says, rumour of a young Man City forward, Ian Pervada coming to Leeds. Bielsa has said in the press conferences, Emre Moore to Brentford, says Chris, Bielsa has said that he wants someone as good as Nketiah who can stand in for Bamford. So if I'm a Leeds fan, I'm really looking at Che Adams as the one, and they've got to get this January transfer window right. They didn't get it right last year, did they? I know it may not have been their fault that James fell through, but it fell through nonetheless, and so did their promotion challenge. So you would think really pushing the boat out to get Adams, if it means going early and paying a slightly higher loan fee, then so be it. But they need that extra body there. I think they need a central midfielder too, but Bielsa says they don't, and Bielsa evidently knows way more about football and about Leeds than me, so we'll go with him on that. Brentford QPR. So Brentford keep third, and despite their 9 defeats, they keep picking up the wins. Bounce back from defeat at Millwall. Big 4-0 win at Bristol City. You have got a red card caveat to that one. Ashley Williams sent off early there. Since international break number 2, 10 wins in 15 games from the Bees. Strong away 3-1 win in the reverse fixture in October. And we know Brentford seem to have the ball every game, all game at Griffin Park, don't they? All the big guns rested in the Cup, so they will all come back nice and fresh, looking strong. QPR have been in ridiculous goal scoring form. I know they've been good goal scoring all season. 44. Only West Brom I'm seeing there. Quick flash with 48 have scored more, which is strange that QPR managed to be 15. Obviously, the 48 goals they've conceded would account for that. They beat Cardiff 6-1 and Swansea 5-1 in the FA Cup. Have been 3 defeats in 4 prior to those games, though. They're just capable of anything, aren't they? No Barbe, he won't go against his old club. Be interested in the front four configuration because the 6-1 had Wells up front, the 5-1 had Hugill up front, one of them had Chair in behind the front, one of them had Pugh in behind the front. I suspect we will see the Cardiff lineup, so we'll get Samuel, Chair, Eze and Wells, and will Brentford be open enough for them to score? Will QPR go and attack and get picked off? I think I'm going to go for a home win here for Brentford in this one, but surely both teams to score if you're a gambler, and surely above 2.5 goals in this one. Surely you would think. Incoming 0-0, of course, now I've said that. Reading versus Forest. Reading 14th, Forest 4th. First of 2 quick meetings between those two. Remember that postponement for bad weather. That's coming up on January 22nd. Forest back into the top 4. 3-game winning streak after a poor 5-game run. Have Forest had their blip already? Forest fans will hope so. And Forest fans will be pleased. They've got to January the 10th without sacking their manager. We're in prime Marinakis fire your manager season. So Lamouchi looks nice and solid there. Reading in superb form. Raphael nominated Player of the Month. Mark Bowen for Manager of the Month. 4-game winning streak, including away wins at Preston and Fulham. Other than a run of 3 defeats in 4, under Bowen, they have been stupendously good. 27 points in 14 games, 1.92 points per game under Bowen. Same tempo for the rest of the season. 38.6 points onto a total of 35 would land them on 73, which would have been 7th last season. But I have a feeling low 70s may get you in the playoffs this season. Beings, it's so spread out, and you'd imagine a lot of teams will take a lot of points off each other. Maybe 3rd and 4th will start to emerge, but I can't see 5th and 6th having high totals. Therefore, it is open for teams like Reading. 74, 75 points. You think you're in there for sure, don't you, this season? Reading all rested up against Blackpool, in the Cup. Puskás may return. He's been out for a month. I'll sit on the fence with this one. I think both teams would like to not lose this one. They both made a threat of the other team, and they've both got pragmatic managers in their low-scoring draw, says me in this one. Hull. Sorry, I should just quickly mention Charlie Adam and John Swift for Reading. Brilliant. Adam coming in when the results changed. Swift a bit further forward. Tyler Blackett as well. Should really predict Reading win, shouldn't I, if I'm bigging up all their players? There we go. We'll go for a draw. Right, Hull in 9th versus Fulham in 5th. Fulham beat Villa in the Cup. Premier League scalp there, but Dean Smith was not interested. Harry Arter returned. Cavaliero is now signed permanently for anything between 8 million and 15 million, depending on who you believe. Undisclosed that one. Inconsistent last league game, lost at home to Reading, obviously. 7 points in 3 before that. 1 point in the last 3 away games, however, and that was a late rescue at bottom side Luton in a mad 3-3 draw there. So Fulham inconsistent, managing to at the same time lose more home games than most people and win more home games than most people. Arter will surely come back into the midfield. That may change the form slightly, won't it? Hull, well, they went through in the Cup as well. Eves with the hat-trick there. Assist from Herbie Kane on debut. He might fancy his way into the team there. All competitions, 4 wins in the last 5 up to 9th. 2 points off the playoffs. McGuinness is back now. Lewis Potter is doing well up front, and Eves obviously got the hat-trick. So some competition, definitely not a clear lead guy out of those 3 yet. You've kind of got an older guy, a real youngster, and a project from the lower division. So interesting to see who claims that spot. Remember Hull going to Fulham, and was it 3-0 or was it 3-1? I know they put 3 in at Craven Cottage. So they did have the beating of them on the transitions with Bowen and Grzycki as well. Let's go for need a controversial one in here. Let's go for a Hull home win in this one. Hull to beat Fulham. Anything could happen though, couldn't it? Welsh derby. Elliot's talking about Emre Moore as well. Someone tell me about Emre Moore. He's supposed to be really good. Cardiff in 12th versus Swansea in 6th on Sunday. Swansea took the first Welsh derby of the season. Swans slid back into the top 6 after they went over Charlton. Nice little run of 3 wins in 5. I still can't figure Swansea out. I'm looking for evidence that I think they're middling and that they're better, and their wins are coming against lower ranked teams, although they were the last team to beat Borough before Borough's good run, so that's a bit of a mitigating circumstances. Surridge gone back to Bournemouth. Brewster in to replace him. They've also taken Mark Guehi, don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sure we'll find out in due course, from Chelsea on loan. We assume with any young player that Steve Cooper knows who they are with his knowledge of those age groups from his England job. 5-1 reverse in the cup, never helpful, but should we give them a pass? Reserve team players in there. Cardiff 1 win in 7, loads of draws in there. Steve says Swansea are poor. I didn't say they were poor, but I think they've been in a slightly inflated position. They keep dropping down and then they'll do back-to-back wins. I think it's going to kind of just regress down to the middle by the end of the season. But hey, I could well be proved wrong. It's happened a lot. 6-1, obviously, QPR in the league was not good. They didn't want a cup replay against Carlisle either. They've got Bamba back in. He's always a big presence for them. Big link with Kiefer Moore as well of Wigan. And Gary Medina's gone out. I cannot quite fathom how you'd have Kiefer Moore over Medina. They seem very much of a muchness, those two. But hey, Neil Harris assumedly knows what he is doing. I think Cardiff are going to win because it's at Cardiff, and I think it'll become an up and out game, and they'll do it that way. Tomlin, obviously, he was nominated for Manager of the Month. Elliot says, is Lyle Taylor fit? No, he is not. We have covered that. Lewis says he is watching this amazing stream, eating his dinner. I'm sure he's about to watch Sheffield United as well. Chris Wilder just signed a new contract for Sheffield United, and they're on the TV. Lovely old time if you are a Blade. And I know we do have many of them still tuning in after last season, still basking in that promotion. Stoke versus Millwall. Stoke 21st versus Millwall. Millwall have been in the top 6, which is a big deal, I think, for the South Londoners, because like I've said before, in 17-18 when they had that challenge, don't think they ever quite got in there. It's nice to see them in there. I know Swansea knocked them out a couple of days later, but over halfway through a season, top 6 given size of club and where they come from, that is brilliant. Obviously, Rowett and Jed Wallace both nominated for Player of the Month, Manager of the Month awards. 1 defeat in 12 in all competitions, 3 wins in a row, 5 wins in 7, all going on well for Millwall. Aidan O'Brien, doubtful, but you would think he would have been bench anyway. Stoke are out of the bottom 3, looking in a much better state now. Michael O'Neill, he's got 5 wins since he's been there, but 3 in the last 6, and anything, vaguely resembling 3 or 4 wins every 10 games or so will definitely keep you up in this league. You're looking for 1 point per game, basically, to get to 46 and stay up. So Stoke now, they I suppose they'll use Huddersfield as their barometer and just chase them, but there is a scenario now where we don't see Stoke back in the bottom 3. Hey, mark my words, they'll probably lose and Wigan will win and they'll be back in there. But I can just see them now moving out. I am worried for the promoted teams, as I said earlier in the stream. Shawcross out. Can Millwall keep up their amazing form? Obviously, Gary Rowett going back to Stoke. I don't see Millwall losing. Let's sit on the fence and go for a draw. In this one, we've got a Northwest derby. Blackburn in 13th versus Preston. They're down in 10th now. Since November, they have not been good. 2 wins in 11, 7 defeats in all competitions in that time as well. Off a run of 3 straight home defeats. Been so good at home as well. That was what got them up to, I think it was even 2nd place, not even 3rd. Remember that point before the international break? They went to Charlton and won. Alex Neil was being massively linked with Stoke and kind of fallen off there. What I have noticed about Preston since I've been doing the Championship is when they get these away games with Blackburn and Wigan and Bolton, like they do take a massive following and fill those away ends up there in these Northwest derbies. Scott Sinclair is the one, isn't he? The new signing for Preston. Really good player for, I think he started at Chelsea, didn't he? Then went to Swansea, scored a ton of goals, got promoted with them with Rodgers, and then off to Man City, where every reasonable player went for a while, didn't they, for big money, and been doing it in Scotland since. I don't follow Scottish football, so I can't tell you how his form's been then, but I know this is a once very, very good player, so we'll see how he does and whether he can get in. I think they're still awaiting clearance for him to play. Blackburn struggling after a good run. Since that Dak injury and the 0-0 draw at Wigan, it's been no wins in 5. And like Preston, 3 straight defeats, but they've all come away from home. So both sides will be pleased to flip this over, I think. Nyambi and Holt be back. Do you know, I've got a weird fancy for Preston in this one. I just think derby game, big following. Preston can sometimes be a bit blunt, let's just say, and I think this derby game will suit them, and that big crowd can roar them on. Let's go for an away win there, a rare one for me. Away win, Preston to win at Blackburn, assuming Dak is not back. Wigan versus Bristol City. Wigan very nearly got a win in the return fixture. I think it was 2-2, wasn't it? And Bristol City, another team we can talk about on a downward trend. You're looking for teams on an upward trend in the Championship, and everyone seems to be falling off slightly, apart from you've got Forest with a 3-game win streak, and then Borough and Reading. Everyone else kind of, Millwall as well. But you take my point, a lot of ones we've mentioned are all a bit middling, had good runs, dropped down, inconsistent. Just a Championship, isn't it? 5 defeats in 6 though. Draw at home as well with Shrewsbury in the Cup. Liverpool away though, the tie that everyone wants there, and the Hughes TV money and the TV audience as well. If they win the replay. Johnson, he was talking about mitigating circumstances. He did sound like he was making excuses though. Dodgy penalty at Wednesday, late tight one at Charlton, early red card against Brentford. Well, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? Williams back from suspension. Adam Nagy, I think I'm supposed to say, if I do the Hungarian pronunciation, he's struggling with his ankle. Wigan got their first win in 14 over Birmingham, but they just cannot countenance any kind of run like that again, and they are going down. Even if it's 7-8 without a win, now you're then looking at, you're coming up for 33, 34 games if you do that. So you just cannot have these long runs now at this point. Other teams will win games now. Frankly, they only need to win 2 and 3 if you're going to go 7-8 without a win. So Wigan really need to get back on it, and they really need to get back on their home form as well, don't they? Looking for a first home win since beating Forest, in October. No Sterling for them, the Loney guy. I'm going to go for Bristol City in this one. Sorry, Wigan fans, but I just fancy, I think Bristol City, I think there's going to be a player or two coming in very soon as well. I fancy a streaky lead, six wins and a draw, and a defeat in the next 8 games or something crazy like that, and they'll be back in the top 6. Let's go for Bristol City to win at Wigan. I take no delight in that, by the way, because it really is starting to look like the top 2 is solid, and the bottom 3 is starting to solidify as well, although maybe Barnsley have something to say about that. Borough versus Derby. Borough 16th, Derby 17th. Woodgate, manager of the month, brilliant job. Borough on fire, up to 16th. I was very, very worried for them probably a month or so ago, but 4 league wins in a row, 6 wins in 9 in the league. Drew with Jose Spurs in the cup, all for good measure. Roberts and Nemecha in as well. Not sure about Nemecha, he's got to win me over. I'm sure he doesn't care what I think, but Roberts, I think, is going to be a good one from Man City. Well, both from Man City, aren't they? But we saw Roberts go to Norwich, didn't we? And Nemecha, we've seen at Preston before. Steve says Stoke 1, Millwall 3. I think I went draw in that one, didn't I? Derby will be positive, though. They've got the Rooney factor now at play, and whatever you say, it's a circus, or he does definitely attract attention, and he can cope with it. And if that helps the other guys, then so be it. Nice little 6-point boost. I thought they were headed into that bottom echelon of the table, but there is a gap there of 4 points between them in 17th and Birmingham in 18th. It's been 2 league wins and 3 wins on the trot as well. Huddleston played 75 minutes against Palace. Martin scored against Palace. Although I cannot wait to see Huddleston and Rooney in the same team, both not running around a lot, both trying to ping balls about everywhere. So yeah, that might be funny. But at the moment, how can you back against Middlesbrough? They're absolutely on fire. I will go. I'm going to go for Rooney's first defeat here. I'm going to go for a Borough home win, which would be a 5th straight win. Jaggy says Rooney thought Derby was a swamp. Interesting. Luton versus Birmingham. I'm sure both teams will somehow manage to lose this game, even though that's not humanly possible. But they both need a win here, coming up against each other. So they're both going to have marked this one down as a win. Just 3-1. E-Tech Charlie Adam. There we go. That's the quote of the day in the chat there. Good old Charlie. I hope we've all seen that close up of Charlie Adam celebrating his goal next to a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo, and they're the same age. Hey, love it, Charlie Adam. There we go. CLC says can't see us doing anything against Leeds without Fletcher in the side. I've gone for a draw, CLC. So we'll hope the Gary Monk factor. Dean says missed my Brentford QPR prediction. You wouldn't have liked it either, Dean. I went for a Brentford win in that one, I'm afraid, mate. Right, sorry, Luton, Birmingham. Birmingham won in the cup against Blackburn, but Sunjic got sent off, so he will not be around. Will it help them in the league, though? 1 win in 12, 5 defeats in the last 6. Few Blues I follow on Twitter, kind of turning on the board now. They're saying, look, this is just not working now. You've been here a while, and it's they're being questioned again for FFP. Having got the Adams money in and reinvested it in the likes of Sunjic. Was that all within the profit and sustainability? So if they've messed that up again, they've only got themselves to blame. Their Trillion Trophy. Asia, Robertson, Keith and Bell, there have been long layoffs. I think Keith and Bell would improve that team, actually. Just a solid, wily championship midfielder, then known for booting Jack Grealish up in the air many times early in those Derby games last season. Luton down from the bottom. Steve says Clotet is going to be sacked. Nick says Toto moving from Ipswich to Bolton. Under 23s for Ipswich and QPR, says Dean, playing in a couple of weeks. Luton down at the bottom. And as I said, the richer teams have moved. And Barnsley have made a move as well, haven't they, under Struber? Luton 6 defeats in 7, 2 wins in 15. But, and I'm always positive for Luton, as I say, because they're just down the road from me. The 2 home wins were at home in important games against teams around them. They beat Charlton and they beat Wigan. So some sense they can do it again. Potts out for Luton, the fullback. Jasper says Ipswich have lost me 3 bets. Jasper never bet on Ipswich, really, never ever bet. Unless you're an Ipswich fan, bet on the opposing team and have that whole, well, if they lose, at least I want some money, didn't I? I'm going to go for Luton in this one, just purely emotionally, because I want them to stay up. They're probably not going to, but let's go for a Luton victory in this one, which would be the first in a long time, but they need one, don't they? Barnsley versus Huddersfield is the last one. Huddersfield, but like Stoke, they've got 3 wins in 6. Dean says thought Luton would do better. Oh, you're in Bedford, Dean. I'm just down the road in Wixham. You probably know where I am, my friend. They look like they're doing enough now, Huddersfield, don't they? And they're strengthening. Emile Smith-Rowe's coming in from Arsenal on loan as well. So the Cowleys now, it's really, I know they brought Danny Simpson in, but this really is their first transfer window, isn't it? Hogg suspended for them. He's got 2 max bans. Steve says Barnsley win. Super Lead says, this is his words, not mine. Barnsley v Huddersfield, the 5-finger derby. 5-finger death punch. There we go. Barnsley, they have the player of the month in Connor Chaplin. Someone tweeted me and said Chaplin is a Hazard wannabe, and I said, well, that's a good standard to try and attain to, isn't it? They looked dead and buried, didn't they, Barnsley, and adrift a while back, but they've done so well under Struber. Can they continue the job? 12 points in 7 prior to the Derby loss. Exactly that again, I've added up, would put them to 33 points in 33 games, which is the barometer for surviving, all over the place. They brought in a couple of guys, Ritzheimer and Ludwig, this window. I'm sure we'll find out who they are. I can't keep up with these European guys that Barnsley managed to bring in from Austria, and Struber was Red Bull Salzburg, wasn't he? So I think they've gone back to that market. Woodrow's still out, but plenty of goal threat with Brown and Chaplin, obviously up the top there. Mowat from a bit further back. And Barnsley have been good. I'm going to agree with, I think it was Steve in the chat. I'm going to go for a Barnsley win in this one. And we must start looking at this and thinking, if Wigan and Barnsley don't start winning and keep overly drawing and whatnot, and Stoke and Huddersfield move away, you really could have, like I say, the top two and the bottom three all locked down. And as neutrals in a lot of these games, you kind of want it to be a little bit more interesting than that. But hey, the best teams are the best teams, and the worst teams are the worst teams, and that will be how it plays out. And we might be looking at the playoffs for our entertainment going forward towards the end of the season. Anybody's got any questions? I know you probably wanted to go and tune in to Sheffield United, West Ham. So if there are any questions, I'll take them in the feed. This weekend, I'm not going to be at any matches. So what that does mean is that, Jaggy says, give me a treble for tomorrow. I literally just closed my notes, Jaggy. Let me open them back up. I do apologise. Baps says, channeling your inner Pauline with all of those pens. All of these pens. Who's Pauline? Anyway, smarten me up there. Philippe says, Brentford QPR. What's my prediction? Home win will go for over 2.5 goals now. A treble. Let's give you a treble. I give you West Brom, Brentford, and Preston, and that'll pay out because there's 2 away wins in that one. Jasper says, I'm not at the Leeds game tomorrow. Well, hey, go on with you. But I will be at Oxford versus Ipswich on Tuesday, and wait for it, QPR versus Leeds next week. And will the curse of London, not the curse of Benjamin Bloom, strike against Leeds next week? We will find out. 3 points to Leeds if Ben's not going. Rah, rah, rah. Hey, you do realise in the last 2 seasons, I have seen Leeds win 3-2 against Villa from 2-0 down. I've seen them destroy Derby in the Spygate game. I've seen them destroy Bristol City on the opening day of this season. I've seen them beat Ipswich 2-0. I've seen Leeds win loads, but nobody notices that, do they? There we go. Hopefully they'll beat QPR. Felipe says, do I think Brentford will sign anyone? Well, they've already brought in the Turkish fella from the Eredivisie. I think they possibly might bring in one more. I think just the thing for Brentford is don't sell Benrahma as the key. Hold on to him until after the playoffs and see how that pans out. I was having a good chat with someone in the stream about Brentford. Just the worry is if they don't make top 2, they have lost a lot of games. Could they lose in the playoffs? The Marks and Spencer's comment, yes. I said I didn't realise they had Marks and Spencer's in the north, not realising that was where Marks and Spencer's come from. Someone said in the feed there as well, the Bloom and the Monk curse are myths. Is there a Monk curse over Leeds as well? I know Birmingham did the double over Leeds last season. I was only at one of those games.